Kira had spent 25 years in the same office. 25 years of arriving early, staying late, fixing problems no one else could solve, and carrying a company that barely noticed how much it relied on her. Every morning, she sat at the same desk beneath the soft hum of fluorescent lights, coffee steaming beside stacks of reports. She trained new employees, calmed angry clients, and quietly cleaned up mistakes made by managers earning twice her salary. People called her dependable, reliable, the backbone of the company. But one Monday morning, none of those words mattered. "Kira, after careful consideration, we've decided to let you go." Emma, her boss, sat across the conference table with folded arms and an expression so cold it barely looked human. No thank you. No acknowledgement of 25 years. Just a polished corporate goodbye. "You'll need to vacate your office before Friday," Emma added. The HR representative shifted awkwardly beside her, waiting for tears or anger, but Kira simply nodded once. "Okay." Emma blinked, clearly caught off guard. "That's it?" she asked sharply. Kira stood slowly, smoothing the wrinkles from her blazer. "That's it." And then she walked out. The silence she left behind unsettled everyone more than any outburst could have. Back at her desk, co-workers avoided eye contact while pretending to work. A few looked guilty, most looked afraid. Kira packed quietly, a framed photo of her late parents, a tiny plant she'd kept alive for years, an old employee appreciation plaque that now felt almost laughable, for outstanding dedication and service. She stared at the words for a moment before placing the plaque inside the box. 25 years, reduced to one cardboard container. As she carried the box toward the exit, she felt dozens of eyes following her. They expected her to crumble the moment she stepped outside those doors. But Kira wasn't breaking. Not anymore. Because deep down, she already understood something the company didn't. They hadn't just fired an employee. They had removed the person holding everything together. That night, her apartment felt strangely quiet. The cardboard box sat unopened in the corner while rain tapped softly against the windows. For the first time in decades, Kira had nowhere to be the next morning. No deadlines, no frantic calls, no office politics, just silence. And buried underneath that silence, relief. The next day, her phone rang. "Kira, thank goodness," a former client sighed. "Everything's falling apart over here." Another call followed, then another. Employees were overwhelmed, clients were frustrated, projects were delayed because no one knew how Kira had managed everything so smoothly for so many years. The company was unraveling faster than anyone expected. One evening, an old coworker named Mark called her. "You know," he said carefully, "people trusted the company because they trusted you." Kira leaned back in her chair. "And now? Now they're looking for somewhere else to go." That sentence changed everything. For years, Kira had poured her energy into building someone else's dream while ignoring her own potential. She had convinced herself loyalty would eventually be rewarded. But loyalty without respect only becomes sacrifice. And she was finally tired of sacrificing herself. So she made a decision. 2 weeks later, Kira rented a small office downtown. Nothing fancy, just a modest space with secondhand furniture, warm lighting, and one promise written in her notebook: build something better. At first, it was just her and Mark. Then came another former employee, then another. Talented people who had spent years feeling invisible under Emma's leadership suddenly found themselves working somewhere they were actually valued. Kira listened to her team. She remembered birthdays. She asked people if they were okay, and for the first time in years, work no longer felt heavy. Meanwhile, her old company was collapsing. Meetings turned chaotic. Deadlines were missed. Clients began pulling contracts one after another. Emma tried to regain control the only way she knew how, through pressure, blame, and impossible expectations. But fear wasn't leadership, and people were finally tired of pretending it was. One afternoon, Kira received an email from one of the company's biggest clients. "We'd like to discuss moving our account to your firm." She stared at the screen for a long moment. That client alone had once generated millions for her old employer. Now they wanted her instead. Not because she manipulated them, not because she begged, because they trusted her. The meeting happened 3 days later. Kira walked into the conference room wearing a simple navy suit, carrying nothing but confidence and years of earned experience. The client smiled warmly. "We've worked with you for a long time," he told her. "You always solved problems before they became disasters." Kira smiled softly. "I care about people," she said. "That's always been my strategy." By the end of the meeting, the contract was hers, and with that single signature, the balance shifted completely. News spread quickly through the industry. Emma's company had lost its largest account. Investors panicked. Employees resigned in waves. The business that once dismissed Kira as replaceable was now fighting to survive without her. One rainy afternoon, Kira's phone buzzed with a number she recognized immediately. "Emma." Kira answered calmly. "Kira," Emma began, her voice unusually careful. "I think we may have made a mistake." There it was. The sentence Kira had once imagined hearing in anger, bitterness, or triumph. But now, she felt nothing. "We'd like you to come back," Emma continued quickly. "Higher salary, executive role, full authority." Kira looked out the window at her small but thriving office where her team laughed over coffee while preparing for a client presentation. People looked happy there, safe, respected. "You think this is about money?" Kira asked gently. Emma hesitated. "You were valuable to the company." "No," Kira replied. "I was valuable to people. Your company just benefited from it." Silence filled the line. Finally, Emma sighed. "We need you." Kira closed her eyes for a moment, remembering the conference room, the cold dismissal, the cardboard box. Then she smiled softly. "I needed me too," she said. And she hung up. Weeks later, Emma's company officially announced bankruptcy. The headlines called it a shocking corporate collapse, but to Kira, it felt inevitable. A business built on pressure and ego can survive for a while, but eventually, people stop carrying what leadership refuses to value. On the evening the news broke, Kira sat in her new office long after everyone had gone home. City lights glowed outside the windows while soft jazz played quietly from a speaker in the corner. She thought about the woman she used to be. The woman who stayed late every night hoping hard work alone would make her matter. The woman who accepted being overlooked because she believed loyalty was enough. She wished she could hug that version of herself, because losing her job had once felt like the end of her story. But it wasn't. It was the first chapter where she finally chose herself. Months passed. Her company grew steadily, not through fear, but through trust. Employees stayed because they wanted to. Clients remained loyal because they felt heard. And every Friday afternoon, Kira made it a habit to walk through the office personally thanking her team before everyone went home. One young employee once asked her, "How did you know you could build all this?" Kira smiled thoughtfully. "I didn't," she admitted. "I just knew I deserved better than being treated like I was invisible." The employee nodded quietly, holding on to those words like they mattered, because they did. One evening, Kira stayed late organizing files when she noticed the old plaque sitting on a shelf near her desk. "For outstanding dedication and service." She picked it up and laughed softly, not bitterly, not sadly, just honestly. For years, she believed dedication meant enduring disrespect quietly. Now she understood something different. Real success isn't about sacrificing yourself until there's nothing left. It's about building a life where your value is recognized before you have to prove it through exhaustion. Kira placed the plaque back on the shelf and turned off the office lights. As she walked through the quiet hallway, she realized something important. Emma had once expected her to leave in shame. Instead, she walked away and built a future she never thought possible. Not through revenge, not through anger, but through resilience, through self-worth, through finally understanding that being underestimated can sometimes become the greatest gift of all. And as the elevator doors closed behind her, Kira smiled, because for the first time in 25 years, she wasn't surviving anymore. She was finally living.